welcome back to Inside Game Dealer for Friday.
That's right.
Yeah!
Yes!
Yeehaw.
Like Howard Dean. I know you guys don't know who that is.
I cleared out my sinuses,
Google Stadia is coming this fall, and we're wondering, has it already killed off its first console?
No! While the cloud gaming service isn't here yet, there are reports that Microsoft has scrapped plans for a cheaper next-gen Xbox, possibly because it's ceding the low-cost gaming market to Google Stadia before the fight really even starts.
Wow, we're gonna do a bit of theorizing on this story, but there's no doubt that Microsoft is paying close attention to what Stadia is doing, which makes sense because it's got its own little thing in the works. We like to call it
Boom, Xcloud.
They don't have to say the name anymore. There was a dude in the Microsoft audience doing this.
They're gonna have to have a controller that you can play like that while you're
Oh my God.
Well, let's first talk about what we do know when it comes to the next generation. Lawrence, take it.
So we've heard about the next PlayStation with its solid state drive and super fast loading times. You can zip all through Manhattan. Wow, it doesn't load, wow. And then at E3, it was Microsoft's turn, sort of. In a reveal video, they gave us some details about the new machine. It's coming out holiday season 2020. It's codenamed Project Scarlet, which is sex.
Because that bad girl walks around town with an S on her name because she likes sex.
It'll have 8K resolution
Whoa,
support.
8K, not 4K?
No, 8.
I think our eyes only go up to 6K.
It's got a solid state drive because, of course, it does it. Frame rates hitting up to 120 frames per second. I don't even know that there are TVs that support 120 hertz, but whatever.
Yeah.
There's like some gamer TVs. But
Absolutely.
I think
there are.
Nvidia's working on one
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
But
Still pretty good. There's
100%
mostly
there.
60 out there, but in terms of power, they say it'll be 4 times as powerful as the Xbox One X. At least the CPU will be. So
That's really powerful.
that's awesome.
it's actually so powerful that the second you turn it on, it will create a gaming singularity inside of your very living room.
That's right, the intense gamer gravity will shred off all of your clothes and suck you naked into the gaming dimension. When you wake up, there's someone there waiting. He offers you a green robot glove to help you up.
That's right, it's Master Chief. Yeah. You will be best friends. You're gonna run around the halos naked with Master Chief shooting
No.
covenants in the face thanks to the teraflops of Project Scarlet.
I am in! I can't wait!
Spencer, you did it! Invented
I
God.
picked up a needler, boom! Yeah, boom! Rocket launcher, boom! Yeah, hell yeah!
It must be Friday.
Oh god, I just want to be Master Chief's friend. Just clutching onto his back naked.
Naked.
Yeah.
No! Wants to be naked.
Running across it. Well, in addition to the rumored specs, because that's all we got right now, really, the reports that Microsoft was working on multiple launch consoles for the next generation. At the end of last year, it was reported that Project Scarlet was the overall plan for the next generation, that there were 2 next-gen consoles being developed, a high-end model codenamed Anaconda, the second one called Lockhart,
Okay.
which is Tifa's last name, Final Fantasy VII Remake, confirmed for Xbox.
That doesn't have anything to do with my...
The second one would be a more affordable one, similar to, the Xbox One S, is how it compares to the Xbox One X. Some people even reported the second low-power device was specifically designed for game streaming.
And then at E3 last year, Xbox boss Phil Spencer seemed to confirm that multiple console theory, saying that Microsoft was deep into architecting the next Xbox consoles.
Plural.
It's clear they're not just making one
No,
for
of course
Phil.
not. They never did.
Yeah, we've dumped billions of R&D for a console that only I can play. F you, I'm going to the moon.
We've made Xbox. Just takes it.
Forget all that, because now Microsoft is apparently working on just one console.
Right, for the masses.
Yeah.
The tech site Hurrah reports that they talked to people inside and outside of Microsoft about this change in strategy.
Well, one reason they've moved to just one console is pretty simple, because one console is easier to develop for than 2.
Problem is differing specs between the 2 consoles. Developers focus on making the games run well on lower-end consoles first,
Oh, yeah.
and then just scale them up to the higher model. Yeah, you always have to design for the minimum spec, and then you throw in whatever bells and whistles you can to scale up. There's obviously a drawback to that. It means the upscaled games don't perform or look as good as those on other next-gen consoles, ones where the minimum spec is higher, so you can design to that. It's also worth noting that Thoreau isn't the only one reporting this. Digital Foundry also made a video saying the same thing. According to Digital Foundry, quote, developers described it as a pain in the bum and holds games back in the next generation. That's also what happens with the dynamic with PC. When people developed for PC only way back when, they could take advantage of all the highest tech. Wing Commander had full video and stuff in the mid-90s, all that shit. But lately, it's like you have to design for console, and then you throw in whatever you want to scale up on PC. The base spec kind of does hold everything back in a weird way.
And then again, like Lawrence saying, developers already create different versions of games when they're making multi-platform titles, but usually the spec gap is smaller when you're talking about whatever the current Xbox and PlayStation is.
Yeah, which incidentally is why the PC is such a pain in the bum to develop for. Imagine making a game for not just 2 hardware configurations, but like 2,000.
Intel and Nvidia, or Nvidia and AMD, or Voodoo
everybody's got,
graphics card?
like 7,000
Yeah.
different video cards and like integrated graphics and sound.
Your game doesn't work with my RAM.
Also, all those people like Lawrence have a million weird ass programs running in AT&T Team Bonsai Buddies installed. You like Bonsai Buddies, Lawrence?
Yeah, they're my friend. I turn on my computer, he waddles out. Hey, how's it going, Bonsai Buddy? High five.
You haven't bought any Bitcoin recently.
I should buy Bitcoin.
Then Lawrence hops on the forums to complain that ultra-wide resolutions aren't supported, and then he calls everybody a lazy asshole.
Why don't they just put it in? It's not hard.
These are the people who call themselves the master race.
You probably shouldn't say that. It's like saying the final solution.
Yeah.
Just don't say that.
Finally, we got a video card that will be our final solution
No,
for
stop
us,
it,
the
stop
master.
it.
The other possible reason for scrapping the lower-end Xbox, according to Threat, was that the low-end console was intended to be a cheaper entry point for gamers into the Xbox ecosystem.
But Microsoft is apparently encouraged with the strides it's been making with its xCloud streaming service.
As Thurrott put it, with the progress being made on xCloud, the cheaper model became more of an obstacle for Microsoft.
Of course, so if you can stream games to any device, obviously there wouldn't be a lot of demand for a lower-end console, yeah, Lawrence?
Assuming that you have, super fast internet and a good data plan that can handle all that streaming.
Yeah.
Those are fun little problems that
A lot of assumptions.
no one's really addressed yet. Possibly because they're going to offer packages that deal with that too, especially Google. I mean, whatever.
Oh yeah, Google definitely.
Whatever, we'll get there eventually. Have fun with that. Apparently, Microsoft has sped up its xCloud plans because Google Stadia demoed xCloud a week before Stadia was unveiled and has already made other announcements suspiciously close to Stadia announcements.
Stadia is still far ahead though. It's scheduled to release this fall, which is much sooner than we'll see for the...
When is xCloud supposed to come out?
They haven't really announced it. We also didn't hear much about xCloud this year at E3.
Yeah.
It was demoed though, it was on the floor.
Well, we
but
played it.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, it worked great, yeah.
They told us there was a server up in the Bay Area and we're playing, from...
They were wired phones. They were not wireless.
Yeah, they did have like a little attachment. They had a USB...
to Ethernet.
To Ethernet, yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Which I guess you could do now. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you really start to stack up all the latency, where the latency actually comes from. A lot of it is in the routing through the entire internet, but a good portion of it is just wireless within your home.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why Stadia is just Wi-Fi, because that bypasses bouncing to one thing and then to the internet, and you can shave off 20 milliseconds or so. So yeah, it makes sense that you'd want that as hardwired as possible to have a good demo experience. Microsoft could be making changes about their marketing stuff, because yeah, when it comes to Project Scarlet, there were just some loose quotes about it being, quote, the formation of our future in the cloud.
Oh, no, just the cloud.
Sorry, I hear the word cloud. I look outside and just... Oh wow, the future.
But they're talking about it being the formation of it, not the destination right now. Project Scarlet, whatever console it ends up being, is going to be a hunk of silicon that you have to power and play physical games on. So yeah, Microsoft could be sort of making these changes to pour more resources into xCloud while focusing on just one console to compete with Sony. Also to be more developer friendly. I think that's something that they've been focusing on lately. So instead of asking developers to make 2 versions of a game for every launch Xbox game, now they can just focus on one, which I imagine frees up a lot of resources.
I actually have a theory about that as well.
Oh.
I think the lower end console already exists. It's the Xbox One X. The whole idea of going backwards compatible, we have this xCloud streaming service that will play on our older consoles. So if you want the newer games, they'll just stream to the things that already exist that you can go buy at that point. Their prices will come down. So that is their cheaper entry.
Even the One S, it can do 4K output. It can do 4K Blu-ray. So if the HDMI port supports 4K, boom, you got your xCloud.
If you have the
device
internet
right
connection, but you don't want to pay for the hardware.
Yeah.
He said xCloud, by the way. Of course, this doesn't mean that they won't release multiple consoles in the future.
Yeah, that's pretty standard at this point. There's a launch console, then a slim version, maybe a higher end model, the PS4 Pro, or the Xbox One X. I mean, we go all the way back to the Elite. Remember that one?
Yeah, the Elite.
yes.
Oh man.
It's great.
My friend, the Elite. When it comes to launch, maybe Microsoft is just going to put out their high-end model and let the poors try their hand at Stadia.
We're saying Stadia's for poor people? Is that our stance?
I thought that was Google's stance.
It's like $10 a month compared to a $500 console.
If the only way I could play it was on a cranked up laptop with a hot air balloon that was giving me Wi-Fi, then yes, that would make
Steam-powered.
sense.
Well, that's what's weird about Stadia, is that it's not really for the poors because they need a 10 megabit to 35 megabit connection.
They'll figure that out when they get home.
So confusing. Like we said earlier, Stadia is coming out this fall, so this way Microsoft can watch and learn from the whole process going on. Google will hit all the unforeseen road bumps involved with launching a mass market game streaming service like OnLive while they keep their tech in the oven, just working on it, making xCloud better.
Also, just from marketing perspective, they get to see how Google advertises it, who that resonates with and how, and Microsoft can tune their marketing and education purposes for that too. So there is an advantage to not being the first mover sometimes, especially when this is something that's going to be the standard for the next 2 decades.
When they wait for Google Stadia to release, a few years down the line, they can release the XPuck, a $25 tiny boy that runs the xCloud, tuned to be a true competitor for Stadia.
In the meantime, they release a traditional, physical, beefy-ass console for all us hardcore gamers that enjoy earning disposable income on high-end machines.
That's right, we play Halo naked with Master Chief. Yeah, naked, don't forget, gotta be naked.
Running around my living room.
Your dick and balls flying around. I'm playing in VR, look at me!
But what about Project Scarlet, Lawrence?
One more interesting note here, yeah, Microsoft officials said recently they intend for it to support all previous generations of Xbox games.
Oh, that's great.
Finally, grabbed by the ghoulies in 8K.
What was his name? Sphinx the Time Sweeper?
Yeah, Blinks.
Oh.
He got a vacuum and he's a cute kitty cat.
Yeah.
Woo!
Jason Ronald, director of the Xbox platform team, told IGN that, quote, team is starting to shift its focus to ensure that all Xbox One games will be playable on future Xbox hardware, including all the Xbox 360 and original Xbox games available on Xbox One today. Woo! How many times did they say Xbox in that statement?
At some point, the word loses all meaning, which would go along with Microsoft's philosophy of being as platform agnostic as possible.
Yeah, Spencer has said that they're not as concerned which Xbox you buy, as long as you're in their ecosystem and buying games. Of course, yes. They'll take your money, it doesn't matter how.
He even recently told Kotaku that, quote, we focus on the player, we don't focus on the device.
Yeah, he went on to say that, quote, the business is selling software and services, the business is not how many consoles you sell. Consoles are not where the profit in this side of the business is made.
Cloud gaming sure fits into that vision very nicely, right, Lawrence?
Yes, Microsoft may not have talked a ton about xCloud this year at E3, but it's clear that's where their focus is going to be going forward. Also, just services, subscription models, a ton of Game Pass talk. It's also the big focus, the big partnerships that Microsoft and Sony have recently announced. Yeah. Clearly, they see a lot of mutual benefit there. They were super light on details, probably because there are no details to talk about yet. One thing was clear, that Microsoft has a lot of infrastructure in place for cloud gaming going forward, and that Sony will be using that for its own services.
Absolutely.
That's exciting. Microsoft might have realized that it doesn't need another low-end console as an entry point if the Xbox One line would work just as easily with xCloud, kind of like you were saying, Adam.
Yeah. This is also assuming that everyone has the latency issue figured out. Still very much theoretical, and we won't know for sure until people start trying to stream games out in the wild. The masses, if you will.
When you're naked playing Halo. People might want a budget next-gen Xbox, and Microsoft might then have to play catch-up.
But for now, cloud gaming is all the rage, and as we can see, it might already be affecting which kinds of consoles get made.
Yeah, with new competition and entirely new ways to play games. The next-gen console wars are looking really spicy.
Yeah, we'll just be watching from here. We're like, ooh, look at that battle. We have to assume that every company involved, Microsoft, Sony, Google, and Nintendo have all done the market research and believe there are consumers ready and willing to buy into their offerings.
Lawrence, throw some chips down right now. We're betting. Declare your allegiance. Who are you for?
PC.
Okay.
Wild card, I think OnLive's coming back.
He's with OnLive?
Yeah.
I'm with Ouya 2.
Ooh, Tuya.
Tuya, they call it. Yeah, that's right.
If you put them on top of each other, they're still slow and crappy.
That won't fit into the trash can.
Well, how about you? Oh, I'm pointing at the camera. The time will come soon when you must choose a side. I mean, you don't have to, but.
Yes, you do. I just imagine like a horse racing track, except it's a bunch of Spartans and they're all just running after
They're all naked?
Sure.
Yeah. With a Master Chief helmet on?
Yes. Oh, look, with the next Halo, you can do whatever you want. That's my promise. I'm not working on it, and I haven't seen it.
So Master Chief he's been castrated, but he still has a dick, right?
He
just doesn't do anything.
He just doesn't,
castrated?
No, he just doesn't get hard-ons. He lost all sexual drive when they like mess with his bones.
So if they penis pumped him though, he'd still bone out, right?
Maybe he just wouldn't care about
What
it.
about this? Is he always hard?
Could
So
be.
maybe that's why he thinks he doesn't have an erection, because he's always hard?
The armor started here and then they built up. They're just like, protect that raging hard-on. We'll win the war too easily, they said.
One recently announced new entrant into the gaming space and the possibility of more to come.
He's talking about Google.
Yeah, that means the gaming landscape's changing really fast, more competitors that have very deep pocketbooks. He said that if Sony gets complacent, they're at grave risk of having events overtake them. Hey, good on you, Sony, for seeing that storm on the horizon. As a result, he said that they, quote, need to